I was not interested in Islam to begin with, even though I respected Malcolm X and I saw the movie and all that. But I wasn't interested in Islam because I felt, look, it's another organized religion and they're too disciplined. And I also told myself I'm not giving them my weed, my women, and my baby back ribs. I literally said that as a teenager.
Assalamu alaikum to everyone. Welcome. We are back for a needed discussion with my brother, a timely discussion with my brother, Coach Nazir. Coach Nazir, welcome. I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Always been a pleasure, dear brother. Thank you for having me, of course. And assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to the Muslimin.
Question for you. What is one undesirable attribute you notice in brothers that you feel blocks them in their marriage success, and a potential solution?
One undesirable attribute that I see in brothers that blocks them from marital success, one is honesty. One is honesty. And as universally loved as that is, what I mean is being honest with yourself. All right. We tend to all our lives have people directing us and letting us know what to do, especially in our formative years or what they call our developmental years. So whether that's dealing with a semester in school or making sure we have quizzes at the right time and what we're going to study and graduate, we have all these goals and parameters set up by others. Then when it's time for us to do it on our own as young men, especially coming out of high school or university or college or what have you, now we lie to ourselves on how good we are, what we can do with this false sense of self-confidence, and that equates to ego. And one of my mentors told me a while ago, the ego stands for edging God out, if you look at it as an acronym. Okay, so being honest with yourself, the first thing, of course, especially as a Muslim, you will know the pride of the Iblis, his issue was pride. So that not being honest with yourself can also lead to pride, arrogance, the lack of choosing to learn and grow by admitting your shortcomings first to yourself. All right. And the one you go to, of course, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you have to be honest with yourself. Where am I? Meaning I have to introspect or inspect what I expect first. Am I qualified? I'm just talking crazy. It's just off ego, people that gas me. Do I really have these abilities in these different areas, or do I need to build them up? Because if we can't first start there, meaning that's the first start of self-awareness. If you're not starting there, you can't grow. There's nothing to grow from. And people talk all the time. We know, we've heard it like a cliche that the first step to change is awareness. So if you're not honest with yourself to begin with, there's very few things that you will be able to be successful at than faking it. All right. And then, of course, a potential solution to that is in itself. One is to inspect yourself. Where are you? What have you done? What have you demonstrated and accomplished in life? And what is it that you want to do? So developing that clarity. What is it that you want to do, achieve, or become? That's actually the most important piece. Who do you want to be? What is that identity? All right, because doing and having and all these other things are usually externally. All right, but who are you trying to be? That core of you, understanding that, getting that clarity, that identity changes the game. Because at that point, you can establish and be grateful and happy and have fulfillment at that moment while you're on that journey to doing and having and so on. So again, first, evaluate where you are, get some clarity on who you want to become. And then find others who've been there or have done that, have demonstrated from it. And we know that because we have the best example of all in the Prophet ﷺ and the best generations, then move in that direction. You guarantee success. But if you don't have it, you'll be depressed. You can just kind of like a lazy river going back and forth. And the wind blows, you go in one direction, move to another direction. And that, my friends, is a recipe for unhappiness. So that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, I think connecting, building on that, connecting with like-minded brothers or brothers that you know that are already in the direction that you want to go can really help with that. That mentorship is critical. So the question that I guess comes up for me is, how do you handle, or what do you suggest when you're in that situation and you can't really find people that's actually on the path that you're on or treading that direction? Because for me, one of the things that I found is, for so long in my life, I was driven by what I didn't want to be. Right? I grew up with a father that was more interested in the dope game than anything else. And so I grew up with, okay, how do you not become him? Right? How do you not live up to the stereotype that you're going to be just like your father? And so that
Right.
was the drive for so long. But when I found myself in graduate school and not really having any idea of how to navigate this postgraduate school. And then going internationally, I didn't know anybody in my circle that had lived internationally at that time. And so a lot of the financial mistakes or lessons learned, I learned on the job of just really making those mistakes, when had I known someone like you or like myself when I was younger, it would have helped me. But sometimes you don't really have somebody in the path, or did I not know where to look? Have you met brothers who kind of didn't know where to look or didn't have somebody in the direction that they wanted to go in?
Yeah, of course. Of
And
course.
what would you suggest?
Well, there's a few things. And I'm saying this coming from a place of privilege because I
Mm,
had mentors. There are two things that I think affect your life more than anything else. And I hold this really as one of my core beliefs. There are two things that affect your life more than anything else. One, that is your deen, that is your belief system. Okay. For me, of course, that's Islam.
mm,
And I was formerly Christian and whatnot, for those who don't know. And I gave up organized. I went to Christian school, Christian high school. I know Christianity and the Bible thoroughly. And that's
mhm,
what led me to disown organized religion, although I believe there was a God. I just didn't believe in that system of Trinity and everything else. Too many
okay.
questions went unanswered.
Yeah.
But I
Same here.
knew that something wasn't right. So I disowned it and I went on my own quest. I was not interested in Islam to begin with, even though I respected Malcolm X and I saw the movie and all that. But I wasn't interested in Islam because I felt, look, it's another organized religion and they're too disciplined. And I also told myself I'm not giving them my weed, my women, and my baby back ribs. I literally
Mm,
said that as a teenager. So I studied a whole bunch of other stuff, but eventually said, you know what, you got to be objective, see what this Quran is talking about. And I had a Muslim guy who wasn't a good practicing Muslim, but he was talking to me and he gave me a book after he got locked up. And I studied and I came across with Islam, sort of to ikhlas, alhamdulillah.
mm,
So with that being said, is I didn't have models. I didn't know any Muslims, anybody who's practicing, anybody who's praying, none of them. So I had to figure this stuff out for myself. I came from a
mhm,
household as the oldest of six. All right, my father and mother had me when they were 16 years old.
mm,
So they were children, what I'm saying, basically having me at 6. They got married at 21, divorced when I was 12, so there was a lot of things that was dysfunctional in my home. So you're talking about alcoholism, there was drug abuse, there was domestic violence, there was child molestation. There was a lot of different things that occurred that I was a part of, really unhealthy stuff.
mhm,
Okay. So I didn't have those outlets, these individuals, but I did see one of two things that we're attracted to, especially as young men. That's money. I wanted to
mhm,
know how to get money. And unfortunately, the people that I was around, they didn't really know much of it either. I mean, as a black
mhm,
man growing up in America, my mother's Puerto Rican, my father was African American, rahimahullah. So that's kind of my dichotomy. And then I'm also from Jim Crow North, also known as Milwaukee, Wisconsin, one of the worst states in the country for black people, in
mm,
particular when it comes to mass incarceration. It locks up more black people per capita than any other state. Okay. So those are my surroundings and circumstances. But I wanted to know about money. So went about it the wrong way for a little bit and finding other individuals and so on. But I was open to listening to some people that were different than what uh, they had to show me. They had uncles
mhm,
talking to me because different people, because I was going along this rebellious path, the stereotypical path where they were saying all the time, and were likely right. Look, by the time you're 21, you'll be locked up and dead if you continue going down this route.
mhm,
And I was
mhm,
absolutely going down that wrong route, but they couldn't show me anything better because my uncles, they didn't have what I wanted. So one thing is money. The other thing is your deen, your moral. Thankfully, I found Islam and that moral compass.
Yeah.
So with that and trying to study money, I had to decide, okay, what could I do? Where could I learn from? I only knew my great uncle. He had a watermelon business. It was a cash business. He was telling me how he couldn't read and write until he was in his 30s from Mississippi, became a multimillionaire through the watermelon produce business, literally getting watermelon for 7-8 cents a pound or less, selling for 30 and 40, 50 cents a pound up north for more, buy and sell, buy low, sell high. Really simple principles. Bought a lot of real estate. So that's the only person that really impacted me on the legal side of money. Mm-hmm. So the other part, though, I remember reading a quote that talked about Black people, talked about niggers in particular. So you want to hide something from a nigger, put it in a book. And absolutely, I'm using that word nigger just as the word, the quote was initially said to me. Put in the book. They don't read. And my mentor said, what's the difference between a person that can't read and one who chooses not to? So I said, I can learn from people who've already done different things that I want to do. I don't care about their background. If I want to learn about money, I have to learn people who have it.
Exactly.
And authors and people who've taught about it kind of opened my eyes to it in different thinking. So I had people give me books, something like Think and Grow Rich, for example, by Napoleon Hill, because I'm interested in money, right? Money's going to affect my life, impact my ability to be a man, to travel the world, to get married, to change my zip code, to change my family life. So money was very important. But of course, money only mattered after it only mattered second to Islam, because I need to make sure I was on that right path. So again, my foundation was Islam that dealt with my morals and how I would deal with money and so on and so forth, where it's a barakah instead of a punishment. But I wanted to learn about money. So somebody can easily say, look, I don't have anybody around me teaching me this, and they can use it as an excuse. Or you can say, listen, how much does it cost to get a library card? See, one of the things is we don't value free. When something is free, maybe it's a catch to it. Libraries are free. They are diamond mines of information, intelligence, education that takes you on a whole nother level. I think Mark Twain said it best when he said, never let your schooling interfere with your education. Sadly, we think that schooling equates education, and when you're done, that's it. But it's only the beginning of the path. So I began to read and dig into these books. And what really impressed me in that first book, Think and Grow Rich, was that there's a chapter dedicated to the Prophet ﷺ called Persistence. And it's talking about him with Hijrah. Now, this book was written in the 30s by an old white guy. I'm talking about the original Think and Grow Rich, not the remastered, remixed version since the copyright has ended. Get the original if you want to learn these 13 principles that the 500 wealthiest people in the world, whom Andrew Carnegie, one of the first billionaires, put Napoleon Hill in contact with to interview them, to amalgamate all of their information and take these principles and put them in one book. And it took him 20 or 25 years of study and research to make the book. So I said, okay, I'm 20 years old. If I study this and learn this, that'll save me 20 years of life in connections I don't have if I put a few of these principles in here to think and grow rich. Because Benjamin Franklin said, you need to pour your purse into your mind, and your mind will turn around and pour it back into your purse. Well, my relatives were teaching me, go to school, get good grades, get a good job. And that job will take care of you. All right, this job thing is a relatively new thing, as in career. So I was interested in money and building myself up as a man, being independent and doing better for my children, my family, than my parents did for myself and my siblings. So if you don't have that ability, you do have the ability to go to a library. Now you just go online, get audiobooks, you go to YouTube, listen to audiobooks. You can listen to Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter by 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson, for free, right on YouTube. So it's not making any excuses, and understand that excuses are nothing but poor reasons to be useless. If you want to be useless, go ahead and make excuses, because it only has to convince you. You're the only person.
Yeah.
That's it. As long as that's it. You're the only person you need to agree to make an excuse to stop and not even make an attempt for something. And you are usually your biggest enemy. And I was my biggest enemy. Once I learned to get out of my own way and stop making excuses, my life path changed. Once I began to understand the sunnah a whole lot bigger, how the Prophet Islam was optimistic, and understand that the whole life story is about struggle, then progress. When you look at the whole sirah, it's about struggle, then progress. Any success you are going to have is going to come after struggle. And the only time success comes before work is really in the dictionary. So learning these small principles make a big difference throughout life, bro.
Polygamy what?
Reporting for duty, husband, sir.
Formation. I am Coach Nazir.
I'm his wife, Coach Fatimah.
And I am Coach Nyla. I am also his wife.
And if you think this is how polygamy actually works, you're sadly mistaken. Nevertheless, we're the founders of Outstanding Personal Relationships and authors of Let's Talk Polygamy. But I want to talk to you men specifically about the polygamy roadmap, because that's not how it works. Hilarious. I know you were laughing. I know I was just doing it, right? But that's not how it works. So let me talk to the men, kind of share with them what's in the polygamy roadmap and how to actually practice it in a healthy way. All right? All right, good stuff. So here's the deal. There are some requisites that men need to really be successful when it comes to practicing polygyny. There's no surprise, there's no mystery that men really want multiple women. All right? It is what it is. It's in our nature to really be polygynous, if you will. The challenge is being able to do it in modern times because it is an ancient solution and it's also not for all men, obviously, because there's not twice as many women in the world, first of all, for all men. However, by making yourself more attractive, by making sure you have the 5 requisites down, that makes you that much more attractive. All right, and having your choice of high quality and high value women is totally different than just being average. I'm not telling you to be average. I want you to be outstanding. Average is nothing but the top of the bottom or the bottom of the top. But what I want you to do, go to polygamyroadmap.com. Get access to the men's polygamy roadmap. Yes, we have them for women as well. My wives put that together. But I'm sharing something with you because this comes from somebody who's been practicing it over a decade, over a dozen years already. All right, and we're raising a dozen children. At the beginning, it was a problem, major problem, because we had to do trial and error and try to figure this out and use different skills and going back and forth. And, you know, our year now doesn't look like our year 1, 2, 3, 4, or even year 5. But we had to reverse engineer some things and actually coming across what I consider the secret sauce, if you will, and to be able to put it out there, help empower others. Because there are those who are the creme de la creme. And this is not about cheating or trying to get other people do that all the time. You don't need polygyny for that. Polygyny is for a man's man, for somebody who wants to be twice the man, for somebody who wants to expand, not just talking about building family, not just talking about breaking generational curses, but stepping up to a higher level, accepting that responsibility, the leadership, and the arrows and all the hate that may come with it. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. So if you want to know these requisites and you want to measure yourself, get yourself a report card, you want to become more attractive, then go to polygamyroadmap.com, put these principles and these things in your life to minimally be more than twice the average. Because again, average is nothing but the top of the bottom and the bottom of the top. I'm Coach Nazir. I help men get their shift together. So if you're ready to get your shift together and step it up, get to the next level, polygamyroadmap.com. I look forward to hearing back from you on what you learned from it. Assalamu alaikum. Peace.